Alright, so I'm currently trying to platinum every single type of EA game that there is out there, and if I can't do it before the channel hits 1 million subscribers, then my punishment is I have to platinum Fortnite, one of the longest, hardest, and most grindy games of all time. So make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Anyways, in today's video, I'm going to be getting every single trophy that is still possible on the game Battlefield 4, one of the most highly regarded games in the series. Unfortunately, however, due to it being more aged than my wiener, good old EA pulled support of it a few years ago, and servers are all dead, making the very few multiplayer trophies in the game no longer possible to get. However, there is still over 35 trophies from the campaign itself, which is actually crazy considering that's more trophies than the entirety of Battlefield 1 alone. But getting every trophy inside of Battlefield 4 takes over 2 playthroughs unless you're a madman and want to do everything on hard, which is almost a mental illness. It has a total of 37 trophies just from the campaign, which is what I was able to do today. And I would personally rate it at about a 4 out of 10 of difficulty. Maybe a 5 even, but if you play super passive and slow, the hard aspect of this kind of drifts away. Before the video continues, I want to say a huge thank you to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Now, if you're like me, you've been using a common internet browser for years, but Opera GX is a gaming and performance-enhancing internet browser that is a giant upgrade to anything else. One of their best tools is called GX Control, which can limit your RAM and CPU usage of your browser, because if you don't already know, they zap you like crazy when they do not need to. This helps avoid lag and FPS drops while still maintaining your tabs and music running in the background. For example, here's a little side-by-side with Google Chrome and Opera GX to show the differences. One of my other favorite parts of Opera GX is the mods within the app called GX Mods. Normal browsers are boring and generic, but Opera GX has the ability to add in decorated wallpapers, background music within the browser itself, keyboard sounds, custom everything. And it truly is just so much better and more inviting to the user while being fun, of course. Now, with the ever-changing world we live in, Opera GX has also now gotten AI integration into it. You might wonder what this does, and it basically just brings ChatGPT to your fingertips. And here I simply asked it for collectible guides on a game I was playing, and I got results immediately that I used to assist me today with the platinum. So if this all sounds like fun, which it is, I highly recommend you guys download Opera GX, and make sure to use my link in the description below or the pinned comment. Again, huge thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. So to kick off the game today, we are obviously going to go through stage 1, which is to beat the campaign on hard and do all the assignments and grab every collectible. However, I chose to not play on hard initially because I read that it's much easier to just do an easy run with collectibles and assignments first, and then save the hard run for afterwards. And this is mostly because assignments in this campaign are a score limit you have to reach, and they can be very hard to get on the hard mode due to the increased enemies and chance of you dying a lot in the process. But the Battlefield 4 campaign kicks off with a very cool present-day cutscene showing the squad stuck in a car as it's falling underwater from when we presumably crashed off of a bridge. And this alone had more interesting story beats than the entirety of Assassin's Creed Shadows plotline, so I'm already rock hard and ready to go. Ultimately, however, you get put as leader from our current squad leader who was stuck under a seat in the car, and he orders us to shoot our way out so we don't die with him. Upon doing so, the game then does a flashback to a few minutes before we ended up in this situation, and we end up in a very ominous building all alone with no ammo in our gun. The real tragedy here. But I just ran around grabbing 1 or 2 collectibles before we barged into a room and got held at gunpoint from one of our boys, nearly becoming a homicide victim. And speaking of homicide victims, one of our other squad mates was being chased by enemies in the street below, so we had to assist him, obviously. This is the first combat section of the game, so there wasn't really any challenge with it. However, later on, there's actually quite a few annoying and hard as hell combat sections, even on easy difficulty. And after playing the Battlefield 4 multiple times and on hard mode, I low-key think easy is more challenging, and I'm not joking. Then again, I might have just gotten better at the game after hours of playing, and you know what, that's actually probably what it is. I'm sorry, I'm retarded. Anyways, we grouped up with everyone finally, and then had to escape this building we were in because more Russian soldiers came barging through. Yes, the main villain of this game, or at least one of them, is Russians. An absolute classic and current events right now. Who would have thought that in 2013 when this game released, 12 years later, nothing would change in the world. I love politics so much. But you'll also notice in my gameplay on this easy run, I was using grenades a lot, or trying to, because explosions and multi-kills give you a little score boost compared to traditional kills. And this boost is needed to get us a trophy on every single mission of the game, from getting 1,000 more score than the gold medal target score for the mission assignments. I don't know if that sounds complicated or not because I'm bad at explaining things sometimes, but basically we just need to get kills fast and a lot of them for trophies, and that's essentially all the assignments are in this game. There is also a lot of collectible trophies added on, and most of them are called pretty much the same thing, funnily enough. But I got my first one right here called Stumbled Over It from getting a whopping 3 collectibles in the game. I love how that was considered trophy worthy 12 years ago, a true challenge. Anyways, you and the squad then use C4 to blow up a wall because finding an exit door is for chumps who don't have C4. before. And honestly, if I had explosives at my disposal, I would be totally down for this mindset. But you make it outside and there's basically just combat for hundreds of yards down this desolate area with enemies just getting dropped off of from trucks like it's the organized protest of Los Angeles right now. But the area we were fighting in was low-key cinematic as cinematic can be, and I almost wish I did die in such a beautiful place. Most people, you know, kick the bucket in a bed or hospital, but not often do you get to die in the heat of the sun outside a half-finished building straight out of GTA 5, and that's the truth. But as I reached the ending of this combat section, I had ended up in a pickle, and my wish of death might even come true. Easy mode is harder than hard mode in this game, and I stand by that statement, god damn it. But I ended up reaching a total of over 7,000 points in the first level called Baku, which popped me the trophy Dun's Pride. Dun is our leader, by the way, who would end up also dying shortly after. I also did end up dying on this combat area because, as I said, I was getting abused, so that sucks. But after I came back from the dead like Jesus, instead of giving wine to people, I took them away from their wives and children. And then the boys and I just took a peaceful elevator ride up this skyscraper. Why does an incomplete building have a sturdy elevator system? I don't know. But an enemy chopper also pulled up and then we all just started running. I'm not sure where to because then the building did also collapse. And this is not a shocker. I think I've actually been more surprised by the girth of shits I've done post Taco Bell, to be honest. But once we landed on the ground by our squad car conveniently enough, I also found my 6th collectible, which was another trophy. Twice as hard as 3 for that matter. So this was truly an achievement. We then just drove our car away from the wreckage, but not away from the helicopter because it was still hot on our asses. That is until I got pushed out of my seat and I first try grenade launchered it. Fun fact, if you miss, you also die. So yeah, no pressure. But then you just crash into the water anyways, so that really didn't even matter. However, this time the game didn't replay that cutscene, assuming we could remember what happened. And then the level just ends with the trophy called Fishing in Baku. Great trophy name, EA. I'm so proud. But the following level was then one of my most favorites of the game. It took place in Shanghai, and this brings me to the other main villains of the game, that being the Chinese. The American stereotypes are really bleeding into this game right now, and I love it. I also have no audience that watches me in either China or Russia, so they won't even see this slander, simply doing it for the love of the game. But not much happened at first in this level, and I just got another collectible trophy from finding 9 this time. If you can't tell by now, you get a trophy for every 3 collectibles you grab, which is just amazing. I love stat padding with real games. Shout out to 2013 trophy list. However, the goal of this mission was to find 2 VIPs in this giant-ass hotel that is being occupied by the Chinese Special Forces, and getting to the VIPs was not an easy or fast process. I killed a lot of people, I'll admit it, I really did. And you know what? I f***ing loved it. The last time I ordered Panda Express, they gave me undercooked chicken, so I have a personal hatred for the Chinese now, and I'm not joking. You think I am, but I'm not f***ing around anymore. First I get a shitty Chinese-made desk that broke before the controller even did. Now I can't even get Chinese food. Alright, sorry about that. But I found my 12th collectible right here for another trophy. Groundbreaking trophy we have right here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, and before that we made it to the VIP floor, and the room they were supposed to be in f***ing blew up right before our eyes. Mission failed, I said to myself, but then a man peeked his head out like he didn't just do that, and it turns out the VIPs got moved so expertly to a single room over, and we were safe. You know, personally, I would have tried to move 2 rooms over, but that's just me. We then tried to get up to the roof and escape via helicopter, but as we tried to, more special forces came after us, and we had to let the VIPs and the dude working with us fly away so we could stay behind and ensure they didn't get shot out of the air and end up 5 feet under. And this combat section was actually super annoying, mostly due to the fact that for some reason the roof of this skyscraper was littered with so many damn explosives, I could have sworn we were in a fireworks store or some shit. After clearing it out, however, we then had to escape the same way we came in, by elevator. You'd think the Chinese Special Forces would have put like a password on it or something, but I guess we outsmarted them in that department. On the way out, however, the boys ended up getting chased by a tank through the city and alleyways, all being filled with foot soldiers as well to make my blood pressure rise even higher. During the carnage, however, I reached 11,000 points on the mission for a trophy called a one-man riot. Exactly what I describe how living alone feels like. But then I ended up also getting my 10th multi-kill on a tank a bit later for a trophy, and tank kills in this game count as multi-kills, by the way, because the tank does indeed have real people inside of it. I know, a shocker. I always thought tanks were robots, but I guess not. And fighting those tanks chasing us was actually the last part of this level before it ends off with us just escorting a bunch of Chinese citizens on boats to our naval carrier off the shore because all hell is breaking loose on good old Shanghai right now. I think it's safe to say that nobody is going to be saying hi to their loved ones soon, am I right? Okay, I'm gonna kill myself. Oh my god! But I got that level completion trophy right here. Now the following level then kicked off with us just resting because even legends have to rest now and then. However, upon me rolling out of my bed, I pissed greatness immediately, and I got a trophy from 15 collectibles. Godspeed. This level also focused entirely on one of our ships being bombed and taken over, and us trying to gather a data drive from it that is very top secret. But besides that, you basically just battle Chinese or whatever Axis force was trying to take away our American freedom. Hoorah! Give me an eagle sound effect, editor. Oh wait, that's me. I also did get my 18th collectible right here for another trophy as usual. I feel like we probably didn't need them for every 3, but okay, moving on. After the person-to-person combat, I then got to man an attack boat, and this thing was low-key sick. I'm not really a big fan of the ocean. I find it kind of scary and unsettling, and the last time I went deep-sea fishing, I threw up on myself. But shit, if I was manning this thing, I'd have a blast because it was so much fun. And while I was mowing down enemies, I also did reach this level's trophy score goal for one called Terror of the Deep. Get it? Because we were on the ocean? Who the f wrote this script? I think you might have schizophrenia. Shut the f up, Jug YT. Who puts white tea in their name? We know you're on YouTube already. God. So yeah, then I just finished off the level. It basically ended with more combat. Also, I watched a frail Chinese lady put 2 presumable men in their places, which is hell. I bet that is as tight as an unopened water bottle, and that's on God. But it ends off with one more combat section above deck, and as one of our boys was trying to climb up the ladder, he got mowed down by a helicopter, and that's a tragic way to die. Personally, I prefer a much more slow and dragged out death spanning about 80 years, but that's just me. But I also then choked with the stinger and taking out the helicopter because I didn't understand how it worked, so I just looked out my RPG. Yes, it was in my ass. If you have a problem with that, then call my attorney. Just kidding, I don't have one. Anyways, we were up here to find the general of the ship because he was locked away in his safe room. It's kind of funny how one person out of an entire crew gets one, but hey, all men aren't created equal, and that's the honest truth. The final enemy before him, however, was being a little stuck-up hoe like this girl I dated last year and wouldn't fucking go away. I quite literally shot this bitch multiple times in the chest, and they just wouldn't fucking die. You know, the character in the game was also giving me some trouble. But all my problems were relieved soon after I took care of the problem, if you know what I'm saying. We hooked up with the general, and he gives a trophy pop because he loves us more than your parents love you. The following mission then had us heading back into the city, and my god, this is by far the most challenging mission of the entire game because the enemies on it just felt like trying extra hard. I also swear to god my bullets were going through them, and I'm not just saying that due to me having bad aim. They legit are buggy. This game came out over a decade ago, and transferring over 2 consoles wasn't necessarily a pretty sight for poor Battlefield 4. This game has nearly been passed around as much as Bobby Althoff since her divorce, but that's impossible to reach her hoe levels. She managed to platinum the art of the hoe, and I applaud her for it. Anyways, back to the game. I did also find my 21st collectible right here. At the same time, I was also being abused. So always make sure to look at the lights at the end of the tunnel, unless you're staring directly at the sun and you're not on drugs. But speaking of bright lights, I want to show you all what it's like to go to heaven in Battlefield 4. Here is a flashbang clip of myself, and I also do want to clarify that this is not edited at all. And this is genuinely how long these last. If you thought Call of Duty flashbangs were bad, my god, this game takes COD out back and gives it a boob job because holy shit, this is 10 times worse than any flashbang I've ever seen in Call of Duty. At one point, I swear to god, I heard the Heaven Choir Orchestra begin to play in the background, but that might just be my diagnosed schizophrenia. It's Illusion, first YouTuber to reach 1 million subs that has schizophrenia. Drop a like to make it happen. But then it ended and I did actually go to heaven because I died a horrible and painful death and the Lord felt bad. So anyways, back to the story, we just kept on pushing forwards. It was very annoying. We also did get to use a tank at some point though when the previous crew ditched it because it was potty time. And I proceeded to then die more, but in the tank. And this kind of sucked because the mission was so hard it kind of overshadowed how cool the level actually is. And in particular, the bridge portion. There's like a hurricane happening right now in the game and crossing this bridge was extremely cinematic. At one point, we also got pinned to a car and had to get out before being crushed by a ship. Evidently, we failed, but hey, it looked awesome. Washing up on shore, however, the gang was chilling, and I mean that literally, the water was freezing. But we were traveling to an enemy airbase to send off a flare signifying a strike on it, and during the further infiltration of such base, I got this level's score trophy, which is the hardest in the game, requiring 20,000 points total. I haven't seen that many points since the amount I scored on, I don't know, I ran out of bad jokes. Here's the trophy, f you. Anyways, to end the level off, we hopped in a conveniently parked vehicle with a turret on its back, shot, drove, and prayed our way out. But ultimately, we got blown up and captured by the evil people. I did get a trophy though, so I wasn't dissatisfied unlike your girlfriend after sexual intercourse. The following mission or level was then kind of annoying, but cool. It was basically a prison break, but we were joined by this random Russian dude who got thrown in here. And the game quite literally did not once address who the fuck this guy was. And even one of the characters drops a line later in the mission that addressed the fact that we have zero clue who this guy is.
That's what I'm saying.
But I also grabbed my 28th collectible here for a trophy called Recon from doing that. And I'm not sure why they jumped from 21 to 28 collectibles for a trophy, but they did. I honestly have no idea why they ditched the every 3 collectible trophy. I don't understand, but that kind of makes it even more funny though, let's be honest. On this same prison break mission, I also did nail 5 kills with the shank, which was my given melee item, so that's fun. But it was called Shawshank and the trophy pop right here from that. Shout out to Shawshank Redemption, by the way, which is the reference here I am 100% sure of. Great movie. Top 10, I would say. Eventually, we ended up outside, and Lord knows where the this prison is, but damn, they took us far, far away from where we were supposed to be. But the goal was to reach this lift to escape the mountain, and a lot of combat occurred up to it. I died a lot, got another score trophy, but it was easy on this level, and then I died more. But as we were on the lift, once making it there, a helicopter did show up once more. We basically just crashed, and poor Russian random guy died. We will never know who he was. L game. But the mission then just suddenly ended, and I got the trophy from it. Now, unfortunately, since I got that recon trophy a few moments ago from 28 collectibles, that actually was the final collectible trophy in the game, at least got them during the story. So the remaining trophies I got for the time being were simply story ones and score ones. But the following mission is, in my opinion, the worst of the entire game because it's just straight up behind enemy lines combat with little purpose. The tanks in this game are also annoying as f to destroy unless you're also in a tank, and we were not, so it took me multiple deaths to figure out how to destroy them without also dying in the process. Eventually, though, I did get that score trophy, and if you can't tell, getting these is not really a challenge through natural play. The trophy guide makes it seem harder than it really is, so that's a W. This mission does have an insanely cool ending, however, where you strap up to a harness and then a plane just pulls you away with it. The logisticness and realisticness of this, however, I greatly question. I'm pretty sure I tweaked my back standing up the other day. If I got dragged by an aerial vehicle, I think my soul might be the only thing left afterwards. But here's the trophy from the finishing of the level once that did happen. We were then on to the final level of the game, by the way, and this one mostly had us just sneaking onto the Valkyrie ship, which is our main ship, as it got bombarded by enemy attacks because it was heavily behind enemy lines. However, the game ends off with us all just jumping onto a little boat and riding it to the main enemy ship that was firing at our ship, which had little to no defenses around it. I found that kind of interesting, but okay. And we put a C4 on its side, then grappled up to this bridge's railing to blow it up. However, the detonator failed and the C4 wouldn't blow up. You then get asked to give either Hannah, who is this Chinese bitch, the C4, meaning she would sacrifice herself to save the day, or you give Irish, who is our dog, the C4, and in turn, he sacrifices himself. Or you do f***ing nothing like I did because f*** everyone. And our ship blew up, meaning we just blew everything we did in the campaign and nothing mattered. Masterclass level of flopping. Bro fumbled with negative pressure the way God intended. But that was a trophy and one of 3 endings you can get in the campaign. I also did get a trophy from just finishing that final level called Guns at Dawn, and a trophy called Fish for finishing the campaign on easy. Now, I was also supposed to get the all collectibles and assignment trophy pop here as well, but it's a well-known bug on this game for it to not pop when it should, and to get it to pop, you then have to replay the final mission 2 more times to get the different endings, and then load up another level and it will. So I then replayed the final level 2 more times to get the differing endings, first with killing Hannah because I wanted to see her die first, and here's the trophy. Then from sacrificing Irish, may he rest in peace. Goated writing for him, by the way, WEA developers. And here's the trophy from his death, and then the all endings trophy pop as well. In addition to that, I also did get a trophy from completing all of the assignments, like I said, but still, the trophy called Full Arsenal from both assignments and collectibles didn't work. So I loaded up the suggested level to fix the glitch, and it did a few seconds into the beginning cutscene, so no worries. I then began stage 2 of the trophy guide, which was to go back and clean up some mission-specific trophies, which are all kill count related from certain methods. The first one was actually on the first level called Baki, as we know, and it's actually, in my opinion, the hardest of any, but it's from getting 10 kills with C4, and you can't refill it at all because, well, I mean, you literally can't. There's no refill stations. Meaning with only 5 charges, you need to get 10 kills with the C4. And to get a kill with C4 in this game, it basically needs to be penetrating the enemies to get a kill on them. The main method to do this is to run past most of the enemies at the start and get at least 3 kills on enemies hopping out of trucks. But this can still be hard considering the C4 just sucks overall, and it did take me a few tries, but eventually I did do it, and I got it here with the trophy pop. I then went to the level South China Sea, which is the 3rd one if I remember correctly, and the trophy here was just from 30 headshots, which isn't necessarily hard, but you do have to headshot most enemies because there isn't much more than 30 in total, so just be very careful and the trophy should be no issue in the end. The following one was then on the Singapore level, and it's to get 15 kills with the RPG, which I thought would be hard, but it really wasn't because you get a ton of RPG refills throughout it, and there's also a surplus of enemies scattered. The only hard part in this is actually just not dying because it's that tank level, and the enemies, I swear to God, were just on one in that level. But here's the trophy once I did get 15 kills with it. My final combat trophy was then on that level called Tashgar, which is that annoying one, and it was from 10 kills while under adrenaline. And I'm not gonna lie, this one was quite annoying. An adrenaline kill means you are below 30 health and knocking on doors death as adrenaline seeps into your balls to keep you afloat. But numerous times I also shot right through enemies during this level, and I low-key was losing my mind because bullets were literally going through people. I'm not crazy, okay? I swear I'm feeling like Miley Cyrus right now.
When I knew I wasn't crazy.
Right.
Eventually, I did figure it out, and I got my 10th one right here with the trophy along with it. So the final 2 trophies I needed in this game are then both from just beating the game on hard and the normal difficulty trophy, which does stack with the hard one, so it's no worries. But as I said earlier, I genuinely think that easy on this game is more challenging than the hard mode. I guarantee you, I died more times in my easy playthrough. Now, this could be just chalked up to the fact that I knew what each level contained, the hard parts, methods to get it done, better aim, and all that jazz, but still, I genuinely do believe that they were capping. And if I made a video game myself, that would low-key be be the funniest inside joke. Yeah, guys, we actually turned the difficulties in reverse, so hard is the easy one. Those fucking idiots will never know. EA, if you did this, please DM me and tell me. I won't tell anybody. But yeah, overall, I didn't die or have much trouble with the hard difficulty. My best advice is to just play more passive than the easy run, obviously. So once I did complete it and killed Hannah again because bros before hoes, I got the Tombstone trophy from hard difficulty and the Wolf trophy from normal. Also an imaginary platinum in my mind because that is all the possible trophies on this game in 2025. Please do not comment bro failed the challenge on this video. A few of these games in the EA challenge are genuinely impossible to do, like this game, and that's that. But overall, Battlefield 4 is a pretty fun game. It holds up quite well in the big 25 despite it being over a decade old, and I'm sure playing this in its prime would have been legendary. Rating it out of 10, I'll give it a solid 8, and that's all for today. Suck my nutsack.